Welcome back to the Breakdown series. This is Breakdown number 5. I have with me BC Wolfpack, Brandon here again. And we are playing on Highway against a Shipmaster and an Arbiter with our double Atriox Rush strategy. And I'm going to tell you right now, this game is insane. We recorded this the other night. This is probably one of my favorite games I've ever been able to be in part of, and especially one of my favorites that I've ever recorded. This is seriously one of my favorite games. So just to give some kind of heads up here, when we see a Shipmaster and an Arbiter, we know that they're going to be aggressive and they're going to try to rush us early, because Shipmaster does not like being backed into a corner, and neither does Arbiter. So what I tell Brandon is we need to immediately focus on turtling. We need to get something that, get our Chosens out so we can help slow down any units that come at us. But we need to just focus on turtling, let them bring their units over, and we'll take them all out by getting fortifications, getting turrets up, and getting everything we need to counter their rush. So you see Brandon chasing down a blue grunt over there. He's trying to get the power, the big power crate there, which I think is really important to have one of your teammates grab that, so that way you have a little bit of a power advantage. But you see here the standard build from the last breakdown. We're just, Extractor, Upgrade It, Harvester, War Council, and then Apex. And then you're gonna see, I almost went Extractor there, but I was like, no, I'm gonna need Engineers if they're rushing. I think that Engineers are some of the best early game units that you can invest in, because if they do an early rush, like Enforcers aren't strong against air units, so while Engineers are squishy, you can micro them around and keep your base alive for a little bit, especially with Engineer shields. Like those are great units to have early on, and you'll see them play a big part here in the video, but I don't want to spoil anything. So as far as what's going on right now, it's still early game. We're only at the, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. We see that blue has a base here, right up near our main bases. So we see that, and I'm thinking, I just want to go take that out. We both have our Chosens ready to go. We just need to go and take that Expo out, so he can't really invest in that too much. So we're getting our grunts over here, getting the power node. Typically with this, you can get a power node and then rush them, but because we're turtling, we're going to get the power node, take out this little Expo, and then focus on stopping any rush. So we're getting the node, and then I'm going to come back just to meet up with Brandon's Atriox, and then, I'm going to start pumping out some Engineers. I think I don't remember if I get a chopper or not, because I'm focusing on Engineers and stopping that. But you see right there a ghost, and you see it going towards the left side of the map. Now, looking at it in hindsight, I realized that he's sending his ghost to the other side of the map, which means they're going to be rushing Brandon's base first. He's not getting them near my base. He's sending them to across the map, which means they're making an army there. But I don't really think about that at the time. I'm just thinking, oh, he's getting ghosts and sending them to somewhere, but I didn't connect the dots there. Had I connected the dots a little bit, we probably would have been a little bit more prepared for everything. But nonetheless, I'm gonna invest into turrets, because we're kind of turtling here, preparing for the rush. But we're gonna take out this Expo here and then start backing up, because I want to check on the teleporters. You see that we are at the 3 minute and 50. What are we at? Go back to the time, Isaiah. Go 3:56. We're almost at 4 minutes, so we need to keep an eye on the teleporters, because that the Arbiter is going to be teleporting Enforcers through at any minute now. So I'm going to check out my teleporter. Brandon's a little slow to get to his, but he's going to go check out his. I noticed that my turrets are completing here. Now, one thing I will say, I have supplies. I need to be investing those in either more Engineers or a couple choppers or some grunts or something. I need to be investing that, because I don't need supplies right now. If we're turtling, I need to be using those to get anything to counter units. But again, hindsight's 2020. So I'm gonna send a grunt here, but I look over and I just see these globs of units coming at Brandon's base, and I see more on the way. So I'm gonna teleport back. Brandon was smart enough to get that power. Remember that power crate I was talking about at the beginning there? That allowed him to get to Tech 2 very quickly. And right here we're getting worried because Brandon's Atriox gets taken out. He doesn't really have much to counter other than turrets. But I'm going to send my engineers and try to keep the heal on his base so I can stall for my Atriox to come over and hopefully take out some enforcers. But I mean, I think any player right now would be pretty worried. Your main base is getting attacked by a bunch of enforcers, a good-sized army of ghosts, and my Atriox is getting stasised, which means I'm gonna get surrounded by ghosts and enforcers, and that Atriox is done. Like it's gonna die, and I get to the point where I have no units, and I decide to hit Tech 2 and hope that I can get a shield up as well. But thankfully, these players keep focusing on Brandon's base, and he's already Tech 2. They didn't even scout me. So had they gone to my base, this would have turned out way differently because I didn't have Tech 2. I didn't have the capability to get a shield. But you'll notice that they do bring down the shield, but that does stall and give us a chance to make a couple of units. Brandon's getting some Banshees out so he can counter these units easier. But also notice that these players are focusing heavily on the main base. They are not focusing on these turrets very much, which is really what's hurting them the most. Especially these enforcers. He's got anti-infantry turrets. You see right there, I get Bulwark and immediately drop it. Because you see the glassing beam. I know that we're probably getting leader points about the same time as they are, so we immediately get that bulwark on and help kind of counteract that glassing beam. And then Brandon also drops a bulwark on, and we're just kind of stalling and trying to keep that base alive while we make some units to counter. They do take out a turret there, but the shield generator comes back up because they didn't focus the shield, which gives us even more time to stall. I believe I have a chosen over there. I have a chosen that's in the shield. Yeah, there he is. And I'm able to hide in the shield and pick off some ghosts while they're focusing on the shield again. And this really helps because look at how many enforcers are left. There's only like maybe 2 there that I can see. There's really not much left there as far as enforcers go. To really keep this rush going. We're getting out engineers, we're getting out things to counter these ghosts. You see Brandon's base is still super weak, and it's getting weaker and weaker, but these ghosts are not focus firing. They're trying to focus on my Atriox, and that's what I was hoping they would do, because I'm getting units over to heal that base, and they're going to focus on my chosen, which economically I'm not too worried about. I can just make another one with the eco that I have. So they make the mistake of focusing on that instead, and at that point it's too late. We've already taken out a bunch of these ghosts, and I'm getting rangers over. I'm getting hunters out. I'm getting everything I need to counter if they bring in any more units. Meanwhile, Brandon has Banshees getting made. He's got things set, and look, I mean we're out healing the damage that these ghosts are doing. So right here, we're thinking, okay, we stopped the early rush. I'm going to get a shield up in case they teleport through with more enforcers on my side. But right now, we're feeling pretty good. We took out that early rush. We should have an advantage economically. We're both at Tech 2. We don't know if they've hit Tech 2 yet because they invested. I mean, those enforcers do take, in mass numbers, a considerable amount of power. So naturally, we should be ahead here. We're going to start scouting up the middle for any mini bases, seeing if they've been trying to take any control. But you see that we still have 2 power nodes. So I know that we have vision on any of the middle of the map. And you'll notice Brandon does discover, if you're looking at the mini map, he discovers a mini base by the light blue player. So he's going to kind of tease at that and see what they bring over. You see dark blue brings over his ghosts, but those ghosts aren't going to stand a chance when I bring in hunters. So we're pretty much set there, and I think, okay, we're on the offense. We can push up and take some expos. But you see Banshees coming in there, and this is kind of a crucial point in the game because I have nothing to counter Banshees. He has nothing to counter Banshees other than his own Banshees. So we're relying on the fact that hopefully we are, upgraded more than they are, so we just have that upgrade advantage. But I'm sticking to my unit composition. I want to make sure that if they have any sort of vehicles, anything like that, I want to be able to counter. And also having elite rangers in there in case they bring in more enforcers are going to be really helpful. So that way we can take out any of those stasis capabilities. And right here, we're kind of at this stalemate. We're like, okay, they're making banshees. We don't have anything to counter it, so we're going to come back and see if they push. We kind of are just kind of waiting to build up a little bit more of an army before committing to any sort of push. You'll notice I'm getting my expo going right now. I think it's really important to take advantage of the expo while you can, especially after you counter a push. If you are not getting an expo and you're going to just try to push immediately, you better make sure that you have scouted and that you are fully aware that you're going to be able to push effectively. Because if your push gets taken out, you're screwed. Then you are down to one base. You're trying to remake an army and counter what they have off of one base. You're not going to be able to do very well with that, because then they have the opportunity to make expos and you're still behind from countering that early rush and spending so many resources. So take advantage of those expos when you can. You see I have one engineer there. I like having at least one engineer. I prefer having like 2 or 3. That's why I still have another one. I don't know why I didn't select my other one when I did those all units, but either way, I would recommend keeping healing units like engineers, like nightingales in your army comp at all times. It is really important to have things that heal and keep your units alive. Longevity is so important, especially in this Season 4 meta. I'm not sure. Season 5, I think, just started today as I'm recording this audio. So who knows what the meta is going to be like in Season 5. I'm going to try to figure some of that out tonight after my class. But as far as Season 4 meta goes, I've noticed that I said in my State of the Meta video, check that out if you hadn't, or if you haven't. Again, I guess it's not as viable now, but it'll give you some insight if you were curious on how Season 4 was, if you weren't super aware of how things were. Kind of gives some insight on how Season 4 meta worked. But back to the gameplay. You saw some plasma bolts coming down from the Arbiter, so clearly he invested leader points into that. He almost took out those Rangers, but look at the engineer support. Like I was just saying, having engineers is really going to help keep those units alive, because those Reavers are crucial. If we don't have Reavers, that Banshee army is going to wipe everything we have, because you'll notice that Brandon also went into anti-infantry, anti-vehicle, which I wouldn't always recommend doubling up on that kind of stuff. But in this case, all we've seen from them is some air units, and that's about it. We've seen air units and some ghosts, so we're thinking if we just have counters to everything that they have, and we have our Chosens doing steady damage, we should be okay. I'm going to get Scorch Rounds. Oh, do I not get Scorch Rounds? Yeah, I get Scorch Rounds. I couldn't see if it clicked or not. I'm going to get Scorch Rounds so that way I can really utilize that damage that Atriox can do, because that hero unit is so good. It is so powerful, especially once you get Rifle Barrel. It is insanely powerful. But look at this. Look at what we catch them doing. We see them bringing Locusts in, so I'm going to teleport immediately. I don't want them to be able to teleport to my base, so I'm teleporting whatever hunters I have over there, bulwarking my stuff, and taking out all those. And look at those Locusts drop. Pretty much I think every Locust right here drops. And they're going to try to teleport through. Brandon flies his units over so he can teleport with them. I have units waiting in case he was able to get anything through, which he does, but it's mostly Banshees, so I'm going to back those units up. I'm not going to let those get focus fired down because I want to keep those alive. You see Enforcers right there. I'm targeting those with my little ball of units here. And you do see that my engineers get taken out, which kind of sucks because, like I said, I really like having those in my army comp. So right here, Brandon tries to eradicate Banshees, which I don't really recommend trying to do most of the time unless you catch them off guard and they're not microing. But, I mean, seriously, microing Banshees is way easy when you're microing around an eradication beam. because it takes so long to fire. But it's the thought that counts, I guess. But so you see those couple of engineers that I made. Those are going to play a big role here in this engagement, because we say, okay, we took out that entire army of vehicles. We need to just keep the pressure on their base. We should be able to win this game right here, right now. By having all these counter units, we should be fine. And you see that Dark Blue's trying to bring in his units, but I'm gonna think about teleporting away, but I'm feeling okay because he didn't really take out any of my units other than I think like a ranger. So I'm not too worried about it. I have engineer support coming in. I have more hunters, but I am a little bit heavy on hunters, so I'm going to get beam cannon, and then in a minute here, I am going to invest more in some rangers because I only have about 4 of them, and Brandon has a couple more, but I am kind of the infantry guy in this scenario. He is just bringing in infantry and mostly reavers to counter the banshees, because you see that they kind of went like double banshees. They made some vehicles, but they both had banshees. You see right there the banshees coming in from light blue. We're going to be able to counter that just fine because he doesn't really have any engineer support. He has like 1, and a bunch of reavers are going to be able to take that out no problem. You see there the beam cannon kicking in for my hunters. I have the clear advantage with infantry here, and you see right there, light blue stacks his base, and he's eliminated right there. So we're going to push over to dark blue's base, and you see enemy base destroyed. You see we killed all of his bases, and that's the end of the game. That's the game right there, and I'm telling you, I'm super proud of this game. Usually when we get in those early game situations where we're trying to defend a rush, it's usually not successful, but in that situation it was. And I mean, that game, we were talking about that game for another like half an hour afterwards. That was our last game of the night. It was just a fantastic gameplay, really fun. So I hope that you all have enjoyed this one. Again, I'm super proud of this one. I know I've just kind of been rambling, but this was very exciting to watch again and kind of break down and talk about. So again, I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. I'm not sure what the next one's going to be. Possibly another breakdown. This channel isn't necessarily just dedicated to Halo Wars 2 content, but I have enjoyed making that lately, and that has been some of the easier stuff to make lately. So again, hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one of whatever I make.